Let me introduce to you there we go, the wizard of ProgressOZism. Remember that guy? You have a reaction to him? That's it? Man, what's your reaction to him? Well, thank you very much. That's what I thought. The wizard of Ozism, who cast his spell on so many different folks this past year, and the year before, and the year before that, creating massive misery with his tornadoes of doom and gloom in the land of ProgressOZism. And I gave you some information about how the wizard has affected our young people. Remember I talked about the young adults and said how they had changed and how it's changing the whole face of America? Well, you know what? The wizard is not disappearing. He is around, continuing his mystifying, puzzling, perplexing, baffling, bewildering behavior, driving our country steadily into what? Thank you. I don't even need to tell you the words, right? Bankruptcy. And it's going up, isn't it? I heard it's going to be, by the end of his term, 20 trillion at the rate it's going. Which brings us to the topic for tonight. A look at the sequestration sillies. What's the real story behind the financial debacle? Now, Now, I want you to think about this in relation to what you heard from Ross and what you heard from Greg and what you heard from Bill. And let's put this all together because the real story is about the financial debacle. Now, you may remember me telling you that I joined the Tea Party because I was terrified that the United States was going to go bankrupt. So here I go to my very first protest ever. Save the United States from bankruptcy. Well, you know how many years ago that was now? And you know how much closer we are to bankruptcy now than we were then? Oh, yeah. Well, I go, that's not too good. Sequestration? I don't know about that. Sounds like the side effect from a malicious medicine. It's like, oh, here's some cod liver oil for you. I know you're going to like that stuff. I don't think so. And for those of you who aren't CPAs or you're not a financial guru, sequestration does not mean seal rest station. No. Sequestration really means sequestration. So I'm going to talk about sequestration tonight because sequestration is when we, the people, are being squished. And we're being squished by all this heavy burden of piggy taxes because President Obama refuses to be the leader who works with both houses of Congress to try and save our country from that bankruptcy. Well, why would he refuse? I'm going to tell you. Because he is busy implementing a devastating agenda, pounding more taxes on us so he can have more giveaway programs for those gullible and ignorant voters. Don't they remember that when he was campaigning he was saying, no more taxes, no more taxes, and look what he's doing, pounding taxes on us. Well, I was reminded of those gullible and ignorant voters when I was at the park the other night with two of my granddaughters. One of them is riding a bicycle, and the other one is, well, she's chasing after her. Now, the little girl on the bicycle is 10-year-old Colette, who has in her hand a cluster of grapes. She's holding those grapes as little Ceci, Cecilia, is racing after her, trying to catch up to her and get a grape from the cluster. So around and around and around they go, and once she finally gets one, you know, she cheers and she shows me. As she is now, she's kind of lagging because this is like the 7th time she's done this. So she comes over and she goes, grape! And off she goes back again to what? Follow the leader and get a free goodie. Now does this sound like what's going on here now? I mean, it's human nature to want to get that free stuff. So I'm going, this is not good. This is not good because he has found the key I want you to think of those little girls every time you think about a free goodie that he's given out. So those free goodies are going to gullible and ignorant voters trailing after him. Now, when he should have been working with Congress, he hit the road on a 100-city tour to tell people how bad sequestration was. It was his idea. So why is he on a 100-city tour to do it? Well, it's probably the few places in the world that he hasn't yet visited, you know, because he's been busy on all these vacations, right? So he's selling the idea. This is what he said was going to go through if we passed it. I mean, if we let it go through. 800,000 government workers lose their jobs. Jails closed with criminals and illegals set free. The entire country down in flames with no firefighters. The military can't protect us. Airlines can't fly. Poison food, dirty air, dirty water, starving poor people, dying people. And, worst of all, White House tours canceled. Does he know how to hit them right in the gut? He knows canceling those tours will upset all those little children, which is going to upset all those parents who are going to go, what on earth is going on around here? He knows the tricks, you guys, and he knows how to play dirty, frankly. So, basically, in his opinion, government as we know it will cease to exist. Yeah, like these guys in Washington say, I don't know if you can read it, still waiting to hear the downside. Yeah, exactly. That's what we're hoping and praying for. We want a smaller government, do we not? Say yes. Yeah. You're darn right we do. Well, you thought that was bad? Nah, he's got worse things to say. He says, look out, we're all going to die if the sequestration bill hits the windshield. Oh, come on. How silly is that? He's a wizard, all right. Creating illusions, turning gold into red ink. And quoting a previous speaker, placing an unfair burden on future generations. Remember when he said that? You got that in your brain? Placing a burden, unfair burden on future generations. But I think it's worse than that. He is fundamentally transforming the greatest nation in the history of the world into a third world country. Remember, he does not want us to be superior to anybody else. He wants to destroy our two-party political system so you and me and our children and our grandchildren will be living under one-party rule. Kind of like living in, what's that state where the Democrats have a trifecta? Oh! California! Oh my God! Yes! The Wizard of ProgressOZism wants another 2 years of that same kind of supermajority in Congress. And he's starting it by going after, or he's not even starting, he's continuing it by going after the Republicans. What he's doing is he's blaming the Republicans, as you well know, for the sequestration. He says, down at the bottom, running with scissors can be hazardous to your health, and I sure as heck hope it's very hazardous to his health, because we want him to be cut off at the pass, right?
That's right.
You're darn right. Okay, so I can only pray that this cartoon is correct, because we Tea Partiers know, and we need to, as Dr. Sam Wong said, educate others so that they'll know it too. Now, how many times in the last 4.5 years have you heard the sky is falling? Oh my God, there's a debt ceiling crisis, the sky is falling. There's an auto industry crisis, the sky is falling. There's a fiscal cliff crisis, the sky is falling. Have we heard that a few times? Yeah. You notice? I want you to watch that. See how every time he does it, he waits until the absolute last minute, he sets it up so it's a crisis situation, and then it's like, oh, the Republicans didn't do it! I did everything I could on the day that the sequestration was going to be going into effect, and I met with them at the White House that very day. But I did my 100-city tour first, and I did not have time to meet Congressman Hendon. So every time he said, the sky was falling, instead of working for a solution, he developed another crisis, and look, the sky is falling. Well, how many of us in this room have had to cut our budgets by 10% or more? How many of us either work for a company or our kids work for a company where they've had to cut their budgets and lay off employees? How many of you? Yeah, a lot of us. Well, you ask Jim, who owns this company. Ask him what his business has been like. My business is practically non-existent after 20 years in business. I mean, it's all happening during this period of time. So what are the facts about the sequestration? Well, the facts are that the red bar there represents the budget. I mean, the gold bar. The red bar represents our deficit. And that itsy-bitsy green one, that's the cuts that they were going to make. So where's the crisis? Where's the sky is falling? I don't get it. Do you? No. Well, he should be embarrassed to tell whoppers like that. Particularly when it turns out that the sequestration, it says 3% on this particular cartoon. I think it was more like 2%. Yeah, well, maybe the sky is not falling after all. I got some figures from the National Tea Party that said, well, during that fiscal cliff, remember that last one, there was a big crisis because he couldn't be in there to work with anybody? It actually increased the payroll taxes by 2 cents per dollar.
Yep.
You know what the sequestration did? It cut spending and saves 2 cents per dollar. Well, what's the sky is falling stuff? I don't get it. Sadly, facts like this don't penetrate his brain. Do your kids ever do that? Do you ever do it? Well, when your agenda, and here's where I want to get to the meat. When your agenda is to create a new socialist country, and I'm not stumbling over my words here. When your agenda is to create a new socialist country to be run by liberals and progressives, all you can really think about is how yummy that victory is going to taste. Now, I'm no great political genius. You know that I'm pretty much a novice when it comes to political stuff. But I know evil when I see it. And turning the United States of America into a socialist country is downright evil. You agree? And you know that too, because we've seen lots of evil people. We've seen evil things done in the world. We know our history about it. Let me remind you, it's the question, are we going to be like the good German people in the 1940s, the good ones, who failed to recognize an evil Hitler taking over their land and slaughtering 6 million of their own? Or what about the millions of Ukrainian farmers, Ukrainian Russia type Ukraine, in the 1930s? They were forced to grow wheat. They weren't allowed to eat it. And so millions of them starved to death because Stalin wanted to create farm collectives. And the best way to do that was to eliminate the people who were growing that food. Tens of millions. Then we have Mao. The tens of millions who were massacred during the Mao-led Cultural Revolution. It devastated families, communities, and the capitalistic system. He was willing to sacrifice tens of millions of people to go from capitalism to communism. Now, what's the difference between Germany, Ukraine, China, and the United States? There's only one thing that's different.
We the people.
Say that. Would you say that really loud?
We the people.
Would you all say that?
We the people.
That's right. That's all that makes the difference, is we the people. And so you heard from Bill tonight that there are things that are being done all over the country. You know, I feel kind of lonely sometimes here in our Tea Party because I feel like it's us, you know, it's just us. But it's not. You heard him say there are 3,500 chapters with 250 new ones this last year, and millions of people are turning out. They're collecting all sorts of money because there are other people like us in the country who want to do this. So it's we the people, and it's our freedom of speech. It's our freedom to dissent, which is what we want to do big time. It's our freedom to bear arms and our desire for a free America. And it's our love for this land, which was built by American hands and with American blood. We are the Tea Party Patriots. And if we're going to defeat the wizards' evil ideas, then we need to stop them from oozing into the minds of our children and our grandchildren. We need to get angry. Did anybody see Bill O'Reilly on Monday night get angry? Oh man, I could be that kind of angry. You put me in front of somebody like Combs, I could get that angry with what he was saying. I understood that one perfectly. We need to get angry, but we also need to be as resolute as George Washington and his soldiers were when they were hungry and freezing in Valley Forge. We have this history to live up to. And furthermore, we need to be willing to make the kind of deep sacrifices that our parents and grandparents made during the Second World War. The greatest generation, they were called that because of the sacrifices they made. So yes, we can stop this evil. We can stop it in many ways. You heard some tonight, but I'm going to remind you that you can canvass for Paul Leon. So we can eliminate that Democratic supermajority. That would be one huge way. And I loved it when he told me I could do it all from my own house. I can do that. I mean, I can do that. Think about it. Could you do that?
Yes.
Yeah, you could. I mean, it's absolutely incredible. You could be like San Juan, attending the Redlands City Council meeting, and you could speak up there. Do you know that all you have to do to speak at the City Council is to get a piece of paper and fill it out with your name just before the meeting? You can just walk in and you can say, oh, I want to speak tonight. You can give it 3 minutes.
Oh, you
could put an extra $5. Say it again. I lied.
Yeah, you don't have to. You don't even have to put your name. You can even put Marilyn Snyder's name.
There you go. You don't even have to put your name. It's simpler than I thought. Okay, you can put an extra $5 in there. And remember, the only reason we're doing all this stuff is to raise money so that we can build up the reputation of the Tea Party and help to get other people like you, or maybe they're uninformed. Remember I told you about the ignorant, uninformed voters? Those are the people we need to target. And we need to be, what else can we do? We can be not afraid to rationally face down somebody. That doesn't mean argue. You don't have to be Bill O'Reilly arguing. But you can use those rational arguments against people. And best of all, we're setting a place where you can let out all your frustrations by screaming and yelling down in the corner, which I have done with a bullhorn in my mouth. I love that. It was so cool. I mean, I'm yelling to the world with that bullhorn. It's going to be on April 15th. It's the same thing. You see a picture there of Annie and her son. This is at our first Tea Party, our second Tea Party rally that you see there. So, we've been called Tea Party extremists. Well, I'm perfectly happy to wear that label. How about you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm an extremist for America, right? Okay, so here's what we want to do. We want to fight. We want to fight for our flag. We want to fight for our Constitution. And we want to fight for our American way of life. You agree with me? Yeah. All right. Stand up. Stand up. And we are going to be a patriot, a Tea Party patriot with a 1776 attitude, and we're going to start doing that by singing. Here you go. I bet you know this song. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the light with the light from above, from the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans wide with foam. God bless do our raffle, and we have Carolyn coming up to give you a few words, and Joanne.